Thanks for joining us. We begin our show with reported details from the long-awaited deal of the century, the plan for peace between Israelis and Palestinians, to be revealed one day, apparently, by the Trump administration. According to Israel's Channel 13, the plan will call for a sovereign Palestinian state on 85 to 90% of the West Bank, with its capital in most of the Arab neighborhood of East Jerusalem. Jerusalem is to be divided, with Israeli sovereignty over West Jerusalem and parts of East Jerusalem, in addition to the Holy Basin. There will also be land swaps, with major settlements annexed to Israel. Isolated settlements remain as is, with no forced evacuation, and illegal outposts will be evacuated. But meanwhile, U.S. Envoy Jason Greenblatt refuted the report, saying that very few people on the planet know what's in the plan. You can say that again. Let's break it all down with my guests today, two former Israeli ambassadors, Avi Pazner and Daniel Shek, and from the New Right Party, Jeremy Saltan. Thanks, guys. It's great to see you. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
It's all theoretic, of course, Avi. It's just one reporter, Barak Ravid of Channel 13 that I just mentioned. But from what you've heard, can it work?
You know, I heard it in 1967, this plan.
The same
Rogers,
plan?
Yes, Rogers, after the Six-Day War, gave the same plan, and I heard it from Reagan, and I heard it from Clinton, and I heard it from Bush. And you won't be surprised if I say there is no such plan, or if there is such a plan, it will not be presented, not in the near future, and I don't believe, because now we are in an election period here, then until a new government is formed, it's July, then it's vacation, then it's Chagim, and then there is a campaign in America. So I have a lot of respect for Barak Ravid, but this time he was really wrong.
I was a bit skeptical about the timing, as you could hear in my lead there. But Daniel, I mean, like Avi said, is there really anything here that's dramatically different from what we've seen before? I mean, what's unique about this, and why did it take?
It's unique, but there are not 35 ways to resolve this conflict. So this sounds surprisingly similar to the Clinton parameters and to other. The problem is not the content of a peace plan. The problem is the political context and the willingness of leaders on both sides to actually tackle such a plan and try to implement it. And until we don't have the stars aligned in a manner that on the Palestinian side and the Israeli side you have such leaders, the plan will remain a plan.
All right, I'm going to let Jeremy weigh in when we come back from our break. And when we come back, more with my guests on these reported details of the Trump peace plan and a new poll showing some Israeli parties are in some serious trouble. Stay with us. We're back on the Spin Room with my guests, former Israeli ambassadors Avi Pazner and Daniel Shek, and from the New Right Party, Jeremy Saltan. Jeremy, I want to let you weigh in on what we just talked about, these details from the new plan of Donald Trump to bring peace between Israelis and Palestinians. Your party has already voiced some opposition to this.
Well, I think we all know that the United States is Israel's greatest ally. And of course, President Trump has proven time and time again that he is really a true friend of the Israeli state and the Jewish nation. However, when it comes to Israel's security, that's something that we cannot make any compromises on. And what we expect is that the Israeli people will go ahead and go to the polls and vote for the only party that's saying they're against the Palestinian
It's a good segue to my next question for you, because you mentioned how Trump is a good friend to Israel. He's also a very good Trump to Benjamin.
Has its limits,
let me finish, Daniel.
You shouldn't be worried about the plan, okay?
To Benjamin,
don't be worried.
Jeremy, he's a good friend with Benjamin Netanyahu. They're very, very close. It's a good relationship. You have to admit that. Is the Prime Minister, Canada's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, say no to Donald Trump?
I'll let the Prime Minister determine for himself, but what I can tell you is the stronger that Hayamin HaChadash, the new Israeli right, is, that is going to be the answer in terms of the Israeli people telling the president that what we would like to see is no division to Jerusalem and no Palestinian state.
I want to ask the same question basically to you, Avi. Is the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, seeing as how close friends they are with Trump, is he in the position to say no to him when he reveals this plan?
You know, if it comes to saying yes or no, if he's obliged, he could say no to him, like he said no to Obama. He was not afraid to say no to Obama.
There's a difference.
There is a difference,
in the personal context. I mean, he owes him. He owes him big time.
Did you hear what Daniel said? He owes him
big time.
Go ahead, say that. Why?
No. I mean, he was so kind to Netanyahu. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He scrapped the Iran deal, and all. So I'm not saying that he can't say no, but it's going to be very, very difficult and very awkward for him to say no. To just continue what Jeremy said, I hope he won't be in a position to say yes or no, because I hope he won't be prime minister.
Jeremy, he's very optimistic, Dale. That's great. Look, I think that again, everyone understands that Trump is very, very pro-Israel, and people are happy with him. I think we should listen to what Jason said, because Jason knows what he's talking about. Of course, Jason Greenblatt's saying that there is probably a big difference between what we're hearing from Barak Ravid, who'd be the last person the Trump administration would leak to. That's who the Obama administration
wait a minute. I just have to. I mean, Barak Ravid is probably one of the biggest scoopers currently when it comes to Israeli diplomatic.
He was Obama's guy to leak to. So I don't know if the Trumps would
I would take the report seriously.
My guess is that the plan will be closer to what Barak Ravid said than to the plan of the new Israeli right.
Okay. So, all right, let's move on. Let's move on to the political stuff. Lots of things happening on the Israeli political front ahead of the elections on April 9th. First, it's starting to become a habit. The man who almost forgot how to talk, former IDF Chief of Staff Benny Gantz, is opening his mouth once again. Here's the first official video from his campaign.
For me, Israel before everything else. Join me and we'll embark on a new path, because it should be different and we'll make it different. I think I've said.
So, it was kind of funny. He's joking at the end about how about him not talking so much. But what do you make of this very short performance here and the slogan that he chose, Israel before everything else? I think the choice of words might be a bit interesting.
Maybe, but it's become a joke, but I think it's a strategy actually of him not talking, because in the political reality of these times, not just in Israel, the least political history you have, the better your chances are for success. No experience has become one of the big tools of new leaders. Look at Emmanuel Macron in France. Look at Donald Trump, who didn't have any political baggage with him. Yeah. And maybe that is the thing to do, because the moment you speak up, if you do it too early, in the atmosphere of very aggressive social media, of very aggressive traditional media, you're immediately, they tear you apart. So
as what happened last week to him when he first opened his mouth about the nation-state law.
But the truth of it is that whoever has a little bit of memory of what he was when he was chief of staff, when he did speak to the media, you basically know what his fundamental positions are. So it's not as if he's a total mystery.
So after all this, Jeremy, do we know anything more about Benny Gantz and his positions? This quick little...
Yeah, that was really quick. But that was a lot compared to, I know, 24 scoops a lot of time, a sentence here, a sentence there.
Every party will say Israel before else. Every party from left to right will say that. I guess
that's like, sort of like America first, Israel first. I don't know exactly what his strategy is there. What I can tell you is this. Gantz was a great IDF general, but to go ahead and go from there to where he's trying to be, which is a national statesman or leader, there is a very far journey there. And I don't think he's getting there by not talking to anyone and not telling anyone where he stands on any of the issues.
Why is it such a large... There are quite a few chief of staffs who have made that leap.
Yeah, and we've only had two who have been prime minister, of course, the late Yitzhak Rabin and Ehud Barak, who is the shortest tenured prime minister of all time. So I don't necessarily think, it's an automatic thing. You have 20-something IDF chiefs of staffs. It's not exactly the best percentage rate. But again, he goes out and the first public statements, he attacked the Jewish state bill. I mean, that is something which has a majority of support within the Israeli people.
That's not, I don't know what strategy is.
It does. No, I think... I'm going to have to tell you that the polls show that there is a majority of support for the nation-state build. So I'm wondering if he's right. Maybe Benny Gantz made a political mistake last week.
I don't think he made a political mistake. I think his strategy of shutting his mouth is a very good strategy.
It won't last.
Of course, it cannot last. For the time being, it's a very good strategy. But I want to say something about the inexperience of Gantz or of everybody.
Go ahead.
Every Israeli prime minister, in his first term, you take Rabin, you take Shamir, you take Barak, every political leader in Israel was prime minister in his first term was a failure, okay? And I don't think that Gantz would be very much different if he comes to that, which I doubt, okay, which I doubt.
That's very problematic from the point of view of democracy, because that means that there can't be any change in government. I mean, even if I loved Netanyahu, which I only modestly do, he won't be eternal. One day he'll die, and what will we do then?
You gave two examples which underline my case, Macron and Trump. They are doing terrible as prime minister and president. It's terrible. I think it's a disaster.
Prime minister is not like the first time as a dry run. Shouldn't we make sure that we elect someone who's able to get it right down from the beginning?
After that? And what do you do after that?
What you do afterwards is if they do a good job,
you'll have a first-timer.
Okay,
you're going to have a first-timer.
I want to move on and show you the recent polls that we have from last night, done by Chadashot, Israel's news company, on Channel 12, showing that the Likud is with 32, Yesh Atid of Yair Lapid with 14, Israel Resilience of Benny Gantz, who we just spoke of, 13, Labor at 9, New Right, Jeremy at 8, Hatznua, the Tzipi Livni's party, who used to belong to the Zionist Union with Avi Gabi and the Labor, now at 0, didn't pass the threshold, and the Jewish Home, formerly led by the people who now lead the New Right, also not passing the threshold. There are a few takeaways, Daniel, you can agree with me. First of all, the Likud getting stronger, even by another mandate. And it's the first time, by the way, that Lapid and Yesh Atid is getting back some ground and passing by one mandate Avi Gantz. And I wonder if it's because what we talked before, that he started speaking. Labor in still single digits. Hatznua and Jewish Home not getting into the Knesset. I want to hear first about Likud. Still at...
I mean, it's been going between 27 and 32, 33 for the past, I don't know how many years. Quite a long time.
Yeah.
So it's true. They went back to under 30 in the last few weeks, and now they're going up a little bit. We're 3 months from the election. The problematics of Israeli political polls we won't start dissecting here right now. It gives you a general indication, and the general indication is that Likud is stable. The big question for the next round, after the next election, is the coalition partners. That is the big question, because I suspect that Likud will maintain the position of the #1 party.
The largest party.
The largest party. The question is, who from the current coalition partners will want to continue going with them? And what will happen in the center-left, which is very fragmented right now, which might regroup into something or might not. All these are very hypothetical questions. It gives you a general trend, not much more.
First of all, I want to say something. It's quite remarkable that the Likud is at 32 or 30 or 28 with all the inquiries about Netanyahu.
Getting stronger,
I think he's only winning support.
It's amazing.
With that. It's an amazing thing. And then if you look at the polls again...
But why do you think it's happening?
I think because the people who back Netanyahu are usually from a lower socioeconomic class and feel a bit frustrated. And here they see somebody who is maybe a victim of the establishment. I know it sounds crazy because he is the establishment, okay? But he appears like being a victim, and certainly if he will be indicted.
He very much nurtures this image.
Absolutely. And we're probably going to see that, embracing that during the campaign. Correct me if I'm wrong. Quickly, I want to ask Jeremy.
A quick point.
Yes.
If you look at the poll, the three center-left parties together have more seats than the Likud. And the only problem is how do you get them together?
But doesn't necessarily bring the left-wing bloc more than the right-wing bloc. It's all about blocks in the end, isn't it?
Two main takeaways for me. One is Netanyahu is the next prime minister. The question is who's going to be in his coalition. Is it going to be a center-left or is it going to be a center-right? The second takeaway is that a lot of people are going into new parties here. And I think that's definitely where the new Israeli right is going, where you see that, you know, besides the 5 that you mentioned there, everyone else is within the margin of error of being under the threshold, even if they're right now polling above it.
People are going to have to start unifying very soon, I think.
We will have unification, but I think, again, people want something new.
Well, there are not 2 blocks here. There are 3 blocks in Israel.
Go ahead.
There's a right-wing bloc, there's a left-wing bloc, and then there's a fluctuating bloc.
Yes.
There's the part. No, it's not a joke. There are parties who have one objective, and that is to be in government.
Yes.
And if 4 years ago, Bougie Herzog had 3 mandates more than he actually had, then
disagree.
No, you may disagree, but I
Livni had 28 seats when Netanyahu had 27
it's
seats.
a question of blocks.
And
It's not a question of
what
single
I mean
party.
is that some of the parties that are currently in the Likud coalition could very well be in the next government in a center-left coalition.
I think that's wishful thinking.
No, I mean,
I just think that's wishful thinking.
I'm sorry.
I've heard that time and time again, and I just don't see
Daniel,
any
I want
evidence.
to know that they were all in center-left governments.
Just one question before we go. One question before we go. Yesterday was a dramatic day for the Labour Party. 4 MKs of Labour say they won't run again. Ayelet Nachmias Verbin, Eitan Broshi, Chidik Bar, Robert Tivayev. It's a big shake-up.
Yeah,
Did he make it?
They don't have a chance.
No chance to
And
be elected.
you know,
a party which has 8 or 9 seats in the polls, and then you have the Friends of Gabay, and then 2 or 3 seats which are Gabay seats. What Verbin can
Was it a good move
there?
to break up with Tzipi Livni like he did? Is it proving itself?
It's not proving itself, but it was inevitable because they were going to separate anyway. I'm not crazy about the style in which it was done, but she was leaving. She was leaving anyway.
That's right.
And I have that's
guys, unfortunately, that's all the time.
The weight was on damaged Gabay very much because it's terrible what he did in front of the camera.
In the
dismissing
I'll be honest.
Okay, that's all the time we have, guys. I want to thank my guests, Jeremy Saltan, Avi Pazner, and Daniel Shek. Thank you very much, guys. It's great having you.